Aryna Sabalenka will have to wait another year before potentially getting her keys to that Porsche after being completely outplayed by Jelena Ostapenko in the Stuttgart finals by a score of 6-4, 6-1. I'll discuss how Ostapenko dominated the world number one and preview the women's draw for Madrid, which looks particularly a little bit tricky for the defending champion. Hey, I'm Christian Bassnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post updates throughout the next 2 weeks for Madrid. So yes, Ostapenko, she claimed her first title of the year, absolutely dispatching Aryna Sabalenka 6-4, 6-1 in the Porsche Grand Prix final. The biggest issue for Sabalenka undoubtedly in this final was her serve. It was just really a bad serving day from the Belarusian by her usual standards. Her getting broken right off the bat to start off this final possibly impacted her confidence for the rest of the match. It really shouldn't have been so surprising that Sabalenka had an issue or had problems with her serve in this match, because her first serve was notably off in the semifinals against Jasmine Paolini. But Paolini does not have nearly as big of a return that Ostapenko does, and Jelena made Sabalenka pay for a lot of those weaker second serves, and I think Aryna felt the pressure from that. Ostapenko also just times her return so well and got the ball right back on Aryna so quickly, robbing her of time, and just made the Belarusian very uncomfortable throughout this entire match. Sabalenka managed to win just 38% of her second serve points in the first set, which was actually considerably better than Ostapenko's 25% second serve success rate. That's the one thing that I think enabled Sabalenka to keep the opening set pretty competitive, as she did recover from the early break deficit to even things at 4 apiece. But despite holding a game point to consolidate for a 5-4 lead, Ostapenko just upped the ante a bit higher to break back before serving out the opening set. Jelena was practically flawless on her first serve throughout this entire match. She finished with 81% of first serve points won, and she just hit her spot so well. Sabalenka's backhand return, I think, wasn't great. I think that's one aspect where she could have done better. Instead of chipping it whenever she was kind of stretched out wide, she could have possibly taken a few steps back to make sure she actually got a decent crack at that return and make Ostapenko kind of work a little bit harder. Sabalenka's serving numbers, meanwhile, dipped considerably in the second set, which explains why she did not hold serve one time in that second set. Aryna won just 18% of her first serve points in set number 2, which is a brutal figure. The second serve points won percentage was only marginally better for Biglenka at 30%. Now, Ostapenko deserves a great deal of credit for making a good number of quality returns back in play, and she got a lot of balls deep and back on Sabalenka with good pace. Jelena just read Sabalenka's serve so well and timed it very well, and I think she really enjoyed Sabalenka's pace of serve. I think that to combat this, first, Aryna could have hit more body serves to kind of jam Ostapenko and prevent her from teeing off on a lot more of those returns. I think that Sabalenka, it wasn't the best strategy for her to keep going for those wide serves. Not only was it too predictable, but she wasn't making a good number of them. I think it would have been just an overall better play if she hit more kick serves and as the first serve as well. Ostapenko, she really just steamrolled Sabalenka in the second set, and at 6-4, 4-1, 30 love, Ostapenko had won 13 of the prior 15 points. I was disappointed by how straightforward this one ended up being, because the first set was promising. I thought the quality of the opening set was good quality, and I felt like we were in the territory of this being one of the top matches of the year thus far, but Sabalenka just went way too off the rails with her ground game, and I think Aryna low-key kind of mentally checked out. Jelena, meanwhile, she was not missing and put on an incredible display. The way she finished the match too, with that screaming forehand return winner, was just the cherry on top of an incredible week for her. Now, Sabalenka, that Porsche is just not meant to be for her, it seems. This is her 4th time finishing runner-up at this tournament, and like she said, she's just going to have to order one herself, it seems, if she wants to win it. Obviously, she still has a shot at winning this tournament eventually in the future, but I think it'll only be harder for her coming back final after final. I think it'll build more of a mental block for her before getting over the hump. You know, a 4-time runner-up at one tournament is brutal, and Sabalenka herself probably felt that it was her best opportunity at winning this one, considering how she had never lost to Ostapenko in their 3 previous meetings, and plus her biggest op here, Iga, lost early in this tournament. But Jelena was just on another level this week. Jelena played well in all of her matches in this tournament, but I think this final was probably the best match that she has played overall this tournament. And she has some good wins. She beat Emma Navarro. That was a particularly great match in the second round. She beat Iga in the quarterfinal. Of course, a great win, although I don't think she played her best against Swiatek. And her semifinal win against Ekaterina Alexandrova was also very impressive. Her serve was just on point throughout the tournament, particularly, again, that first serve in the last few matches. And again, she just hit her spot so well, and really, it was a huge weapon for her. And the second serve, while it wasn't as successful for her, it's still a little bit of a vulnerability against the bigger hitters. It did its job, I'd say. Ostapenko being 0-3 against Sabalenka, knowing that she was 3-0 against top 10 players this year helped her a lot. And really, this performance and how bad she beat Aryna, I think it makes Iga's loss to Ostapenko look a lot better. Again, even though Ostapenko wasn't playing as well in that match against Swiatek as she was in this championship, still, I think Iga will take great solace knowing that Ostapenko went all the way in winning the title. Jelena is the third player this season alone to beat the world's two best players in Aryna and Iga en route to a title, as Madison Keys did it when she won the Australian Open, and Mira Andreeva did it as well when she took home the Indian Wells title. This is just Ostapenko's second title on clay, of course, after she won Roland Garros in 2017. It is her ninth career title overall. This leads me to wonder whether Ostapenko can be a legit Roland Garros title contender. She has shown good form at parts of the year. She made the finals of Doha and now this. The issue, though, is that when she's on, she can beat anyone, which is, of course, great. But when she's off, she can lose to just about anybody. And before this tournament, Stuttgart, she was 7-9 on the year. Also, Jelena has not made it to the second week of Roland Garros since she lifted the title in 2017. We really just got to wait and see which Ostapenko shows up at the slams. But I think just these performances shows and proves that she is a deserved slam winner, and I feel like she could win a second slam for sure. I think a second slam might be coming for her soon. She's still 27. She has a few good years left in her, so why not her winning a slam? I think she's been showing great improvement in all aspects of her game. She's been a little bit more consistent. She's also improved her movement tremendously. I've noticed this tournament too, so yeah, why not Ostapenko win a slam in the next few years? I can see it happening for sure. Now, while Stuttgart was a big star-studded tournament, it was just a 500. So now we're moving on to the first clay 1000 for the women. Of course, the move to a Madrid Open. And this tournament has a higher altitude, so it kind of favors more of the bigger hitters and flatter hitters. Iga Swiatek is the defending champion. She, of course, beat Aryna Sabalenka in that epic final from last year. And on the topic of Sabalenka, the top seed, looking at her section, she's, of course, a two-time champion. And I think she has a solid draw. She will open against a qualifier, and she could play Elisa Mertens in the third round. They played in the quarterfinals here in Stuttgart, which she won Sabalenka by a score of 6-4, 6-1. And Amanda Anisimova is by far Sabalenka's biggest threat here in this section, as Amanda, her potential fourth-round opponent, has a 5-2 head-to-head record over the Belarusian, and Amanda also beat Sabalenka in Madrid here back in 2022. Yulia Putintseva is there as well, although Amanda beat her in Charleston, and I think that the American will be able to do it again. I could see Amanda doing her big one for sure and taking down Sabalenka, but I just think that Aryna will have a little bit of too much of a moxie for this matchup, and I just think that she'll be on it and will be cognizant of the threat that Anisimova poses, and I'll have her coming through and making the quarterfinals yet again. Next is Chinese woman Qinwen Zhang's section, and Qinwen, a lot of people are really question marks in this section. First, Qinwen, she withdrew from Stuttgart due to an elbow injury, and she has an interesting draw, a little bit of a challenging draw, as she will open against either Ashlyn Kruger or Anastasia Potapova, two very solid big hitting players. Sofia Kenin, her projected third round opponent, could be very dangerous. And low-key, Sofia might be in the best form out of all these players, as she just made the finals of Charleston a couple of weeks ago. Paula Badosa, she is also making her return from injury. Her back, I think this would be her first tournament since Miami. That top section is intriguing, as the Spaniard will face the winner of the Kudermetova sisters. Down below, Marta Kostyuk could open against Emma Raducanu, who competes for the first time since her run to the Miami Open quarterfinals. Kostyuk is also recovering from injury, as she had to withdraw from Stuttgart due to an issue she sustained at the Billie Jean King Cup qualifiers. I think quite a few women can come through this section. Kenin, again, she's the only seed with good reps on clay. There's a lot of opportunity here, but I think I'm going to play it safe and choose Shinwen to make the quarterfinals of another tournament yet again. Looking at third seed Jessica Pegula's section, we could see a rematch of the 2022 final between JPEG and Ons Jabeur. Jabeur is playing for the first time since suffering a left leg injury in Miami. Also, shout out to American Robin Montgomery, too, who could face Jabeur in the second round. The bottom part of this section has Ekaterina Alexandrova and Daria Kasatkina as the seeds who could face each other in the third round. Victoria Azarenka, she'll be competing for the first time since Miami, where she had a really bad shoulder injury. Vika will play Olga Danilovic in the first round as Danilovic, she finished runner-up in the Rouen 250 this past weekend. Daria Kasatkina, she has not had the best start to her season as she's currently 10-9 on the year. I also think the conditions would better suit the bigger hitting Alexandrova, who I believe has made the semifinals here in Madrid before. I have Jessica and Ekaterina meeting for the third straight time on the clay. They played in Charleston and Stuttgart, splitting their two meetings. And here I would pick Ekaterina to once again beat Pegula for the second straight tournament. Next, Jasmine Paolini. At the top, there is Elena Rybakina, who will be making her 2025 clay debut. On paper, Rybakina is going to be guaranteed a tricky opener in either McCartney Kessler or Bianca Andreescu. Bibi will be playing her second match of 2025, losing in a tight opening round in Rouen. McCartney Kessler, although she is a solid player, isn't as confident on the clay, although the different conditions in Madrid might suit her game a little bit better. Elina Svitolina, she is hot off a title in Rouen, as she, of course, has a lot of confidence. However, she struggles a lot in Madrid, as she has never made it to the third round, which is kind of interesting considering how much she's accomplished on the dirt. She also has not beaten Elena Rybakina since 2021. Meanwhile, Paolini, I think she has a great section. She has good confidence, just making the semifinals of Miami and Stuttgart. Maria Sakkari is there. I don't know if this will be the tournament where she finally wins back-to-back matches for the first time since the Olympics. Jasmine has a solid record against Rybakina. I don't really know what to expect from Elena either. She's been so mad up and down this season. I think possibly it'll take her, a tournament before getting really back into form, especially with the surface change and clay. So I will give the edge to Paolini to make the quarterfinals. Next, Mira Andreeva section. I think the 17-year-old has a solid draw. Magdalena Freck as a first projected seeded opponent is good, as to be honest, the pole really has no business being a seed. She hasn't done much at all this season. Jessica Buzas-Minero is a bigger threat to me, in my opinion, for Andreeva. Mira will likely have a tough fourth round in either compatriot Lyudmila Samsonova or Czech Karolina Muchova. Andreeva, though, she does seem to enjoy the Madrid conditions, as she made her first big breakthrough in 2023, making the round of 16, and she also made the quarterfinals here last year. For me, it was going to be between either Andreeva or Muchova, and I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Mira here to come through. Well, number 4, Coco Gauff. I think she has an excellent draw, to be honest. She will likely open against Diana Yastremska, who I believe she played here in Madrid last year. She beat her fairly convincingly in straight sets. Leylah Fernandez, she really hasn't been too much of a threat. They played each other at the Australian Open, which Coco won in straight sets despite not even being on her A game. And clay is likely Leylah's least favorite surface. Beatriz Haddad Maia has really been horrible this season. She is currently on a 9-match. Beatriz Haddad Maia really has been horrible this season. She's currently on a 9-match losing streak. Belinda Bencic, she's not as solid on the clay, but she has made the semifinals here before, so this is probably her favorite red clay tournament. I think that either Belinda or Clara Towson are Coco's biggest threats here in this little section. Now, Gauff has never made it to the quarterfinals of Madrid before, but I think this year will be her year. She played okay in Stuttgart in that loss to Paolini, and she played okay in Stuttgart in that loss to Paolini, and I think that she will play a little bit better than that, and I think that form will be well enough to take her to the quarterfinals for the first time in Spain and Madrid. Now, another American section to observe is Madison Keys, who I think has a pretty tough draw. She has that potential second-round clash against Naomi Osaka, and these two have not played in a minute, since the 2018 U.S. Open semifinals, in fact. Then Anna Kalinskaya, a projected third-round opponent, actually sent Keys packing in Charleston. You also have Donna Vekic or Emma Navarro in the fourth round for Madison. Now, Maddie, she started this year very hot, red hot, in fact, but I think that she hit a little bit of a roadblock after that Indian Wells semifinal beatdown from Aryna Sabalenka, as her last few tournament performances have not been great in the slightest. However, she has performed well in Madrid last year, making the semifinals. I do think if Naomi beats Maddie in that second round, which she's fully capable of, she can come through to make the quarterfinals. Now, I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Emma Navarro making the quarterfinals here. Donna Vekic is here, of course, too. But the Croatian has infamously never made it to a 1,000 quarterfinal. So I don't know if that'll ever change for her. So I'll send the American Navarro through to the Elite Eight. Lastly is the defending champion Iga Swiatek section. And there's that glaring potential second round between Iga and Alex Ayala. Linda Noskova, she has challenged Swiatek a little bit in their prior matches. That's a potential third round opponent for the poll. Of course, in the fourth round is Jelena Ostapenko potentially. Now, consistency with Jelena has typically been an issue, especially after she performs well in a tournament. She tends to kind of tail off a little bit. She struggles to really bring it like back-to-back strong form in these tournaments. So I'm not so sure on her chances of even making it to the fourth round, although she does have a good shot at doing so, as she has a great 6-1 head-to-head record against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Dana Schneider has been pretty mid in 2025 thus far, toting a 9-10 record. Petra Kvitova is also here in this section. The Czech is seeking her first win as a mom, and I think this might be her best shot at doing so, as she loves Madrid, as she's a 3-time champion, and no other woman has won the tournament as much as Petra. Talking a bit about Ayala, of course, Alex has the game to trouble Iga, but I think that it will be a little bit harder for Ayala to beat Iga on the clay. The ball won't quite penetrate as much as it did in Miami, even though the court's conditions do play a little bit faster in Madrid compared to other clay tournaments. Ayala did also just lose to someone ranked outside the top 100, I believe, in the 125 in OIDIS, although, she could definitely bring even higher form on the bigger stage, so you never know, but I still would favor Iga in that potential second round matchup, and I'll have the poll move through to the quarterfinals yet again in Madrid. Now, for my predictions, I have in the semifinals Sabalenka and Alexandrova, then Andreeva and Swiatek. In the final, I'll have an Indian Wells final rematch between Aryna and Mira, but this time I'll have the Belarusian come through to win a third Madrid title. Addressing the snubs briefly, I think that Anisimova very well could make the quarterfinals over Sabalenka. I think there's also a lot of opportunity in Qinwen Zhang's section. I could see really 5 people make it there in that quarterfinal instead of Qinwen. It's just the most wide open section, to be honest. I think that Jessica Pegula, she could make it past Alexandrova. Alexandrova also isn't all that reliable, so wouldn't be surprised if she didn't even make it to the fourth round. I think Rybakina is a little bit of an outlier. You don't know what to expect from her. She very well could do her big one and finally win a title. She has not won a title in over a year now, since Stuttgart 2024. She actually hasn't made a final since then, too, so I think that's kind of what held me back from having her go deeper than what I did. Mira Andreeva is also a bit of a question mark. I don't know. She obviously showed great form during the Sunshine Double, winning back-to-back 1000s in Dubai and Indian Wells, but I wonder if her moxie is kind of shaken up a little bit, after that Anisimova loss in Miami, as she did lose pretty convincingly to Alexandrova and Stuttgart, but maybe she just did not enjoy those conditions, and I think that she will do a little bit better in Madrid, where the conditions might be better in her favor. I think that maybe Clara Towson or Belinda Bencic could take Coco Gauff's spot, although really Coco, she should make the quarterfinals regardless. Madison Keys, Naomi Osaka, Anna Konskaya, all 3 of those players could make it there. Even Donna Vekic could make it there over Navarro. That's probably my most confident pick out of them all for that quarterfinal. And then for Iga, wouldn't be surprised if Ostapenko or Noskova took her spot. Now, I was really close to having Iga make the finals and having a rematch of, the past few Madrid Open finals as they met. Aryna and Iga did in 2023 and in 2024, but I think that Iga semifinal block, I don't know if she'll overcome it yet again. I think that's what helped me back from having Swiatek progress further in this tournament. Really, to be transparent, I'm not too confident in these picks overall. Again, I think Gauff has the best draw out of all the top seeds, and I think this could be a great chance for her to make the semifinals, maybe more if she doesn't have to face Iga in that semifinal, so maybe look out for her to do some damage. Aside from the Anisimova threat in the 4th round, Sabalenka's draw also looks good. Her two biggest threats aside from Amanda would be, to me, Elena Rybakina and Ekaterina Alexandrova in that top half, but there's a good chance that neither of those women will even make it to the semifinals to face Sabalenka. I picked Aryna because, for one, she enjoys playing here in Madrid, being a 2-time champion, and 2, I think that Stuttgart would be the perfect prep for her to go deep and do well in this tournament. She's not going to be too burnt out. She only played 3 matches, all of which were straight setters. And I think that Sabalenka will improve on that serve and take a 3rd title, continuing the trend of her finishing runner-up in Stuttgart before winning Madrid in the odd years. That's all I have for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Ostapenko's incredible Stuttgart title run, and also, of course, your thoughts on the Madrid draw and whether you agree with my picks. If not, who do you think will make the finals and win the title? Again, make sure y'all subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I do post those Madrid Open videos. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.